Welcome back to our channel Numismatics Coins. Today we're exploring the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coins, a special series released to honor 200 years of Abraham Lincoln and 100 years of the Lincoln penny, with 4 unique reverse designs that tell the story of Lincoln's life, from his log cabin beginnings to the White House. These historic coins are a must-know for every coin lover. Let's dive into the story behind these iconic pennies. Top 8. First time the Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coins of 2009 were issued by the United States Mint to celebrate the 200th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, who was born on February 12, 1809. These special pennies also marked 100 years of the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909. To honor Lincoln's life and legacy, the U.S. Mint released 4 different reverse-back designs in the same year, each representing a major phase of Lincoln's journey, from his humble beginnings to his presidency. This was the first time in U.S. history that a circulating 1-cent coin featured 4 different reverse designs in a single year, making 2009 a very special and historic year for penny collectors. The obverse front of all 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cents continue to feature the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, which has appeared on the penny since 1909. However, the reverse designs changed throughout the year. The first design, called Birth and Early Childhood in Kentucky, shows a simple log cabin, symbolizing Lincoln's modest birth and frontier upbringing. The second design, Formative Years in Indiana, depicts a young Lincoln sitting on a log reading a book, representing his self-education and love for learning. The third design, Professional Life in Illinois, features Lincoln standing in front of the Illinois state capitol, highlighting his years as a lawyer and lawmaker. The fourth and final design, Presidency in Washington, D.C., shows the partially completed U.S. Capitol dome, symbolizing Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War and the preservation of the Union. These coins were minted at Philadelphia P. Mintmark and Denver D. Mintmark for circulation, while San Francisco S. Mintmark produced proof versions for collectors. An important technical change also occurred in 2009. For the first time since 1982, special collector versions of the Lincoln cent were struck in 95% copper, similar to the original 1909 pennies, instead of the modern zinc core. These copper versions were included in special mint sets and are especially popular among collectors because of their traditional composition and historical connection to early Lincoln cents. In terms of value, most circulated 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial pennies are still worth face value 1 cent, especially if they are worn or damaged. However, uncirculated coins, proof coins, and 95% copper collector issues can be worth more, depending on condition and demand. Complete 4 coin sets in high grade are particularly popular with collectors. Overall, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coins are not just everyday pennies. They are a tribute to Abraham Lincoln's life, American history, and the evolution of U.S. coinage, making them an important and meaningful series for both new and experienced coin collectors. Next time, the 1934 D. Lincoln wheat penny is a 1-cent coin struck by the United States Mint at Denver in 1934. During a period marked by deep economic hardship known as the Great Depression. In the early 20th century, Lincoln cents, often called wheat pennies because of the wheat stalks on the reverse, formed the backbone of everyday American commerce, the small copper coin people used in daily transactions. The series itself was first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln on the 100th anniversary of his birth. He was selected as the first historical figure to appear on a regularly circulating U.S. coin, replacing the long-standing Indian head design. The designer was Victor David Brenner, whose initials and artistic portrait of Lincoln became iconic in U.S. numismatic history. By 1934, the United States was several years into the Depression, and although goods and services became cheaper and money was tight, the government continued minting large quantities of coins to meet everyday transactional needs. The Denver Mint produced only one of the 2 varieties that year, the D. Mintmark variety, indicating that the coin was struck in Denver. This mint mark, a small d placed just below the date on the obverse front of the coin, distinguishes it from the much more common Philadelphia coins, which have no mint mark. In practical terms, Denver struck 28,446,000 of these pennies, while the Philadelphia Mint struck far more, over 219 million, meaning that Denver's production was 8 times smaller. Because of this lower mintage and the challenges of survival and circulation over nearly a century, the 1934 D today is considered scarcer and thus more desirable for collectors, especially in high grades or original condition. The design elements reflect American symbolism and practical artistry. On the obverse, Lincoln's bust faces right with "In God We Trust" arching above, Liberty to the left, and the date with the D Mint mark to the right. On the reverse, twin wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing agricultural prosperity and resilience during tough Lincoln wheat penny com. Although intended merely as everyday change, these coins now carry historical weight as survivors of the Depression era and as artifacts of U.S. minting practices before modern mass production technology. Denver's mint, at that time, hand-punched mint marks into the dies, a labor-intensive process that sometimes resulted in varieties where the mint mark appears doubled or repunched. Coins exhibiting such repunched mint mark (RPM) errors have become distinct collector varieties that illustrate the human aspects of mint operations in that era. Over the decades, many circulated heavily, losing surface detail and original copper luster. Others were preserved particularly by early collectors, and thus command significant premiums when professionally graded today. In conjunction with color factors, original red copper surfaces command the highest value. 1934D pennies in near mint or uncirculated condition can be prized highlights in wheat penny collections. Chart increasing why the 1934D is important to collectors today. Despite millions being produced, high-quality survivors from Denver are rare. Because fewer were made and fewer survived with original surfaces intact, serious collectors seeking complete Lincoln wheat cent sets often hunt the 1934D closely. In circulated grades they are common enough, but uncirculated and error varieties are much harder to find. One of the most collectible aspects of the 1934D comes from the minting process itself. Because mint marks were manually punched into the dies, repunched mint mark varieties (RPM) occasionally occur where the D appears doubled or shadowed. These RPM varieties, cataloged by specialists with numbers such as FS503 and FS504, are among the most sought-after error coins for wheat penny enthusiasts because they reflect the exact moment and human touch of 1930s mint work. Collectors will also note that Denver strikes from this year sometimes show weaker detail in the wheat stalks and Lincoln's hair, a characteristic of the Denver production quality at the time which can affect grading and desirability. Coins with sharp strikes and strong details generally command higher prices. The 1934D wheat penny is not just a 1-cent coin, it's a tangible piece of American history from one of the nation's most difficult economic periods. From its modest beginnings as everyday change to its modern status as a collectible, this penny tells a story of design artistry, minting challenges, and the enduring appeal of coins as historical artifacts. Next time, the 1935D wheat penny, often called a Lincoln wheat cent, has a long and interesting history as part of one of America's most iconic and widely collected coin series. First produced in 1909, the Lincoln penny was introduced to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and it marked the first time a U.S. circulating coin bore the image of a real person rather than symbolic figures like Lady Liberty. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, whose portrait of Lincoln on the obverse front and paired wheat ears on the reverse came to symbolize both national unity and agricultural abundance in early 20th century America. In 1935, the United States was still in the midst of recovering from the Great Depression, and everyday commerce relied heavily on small denomination coins like the 1-cent piece. During that year, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln pennies at 3 facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark; the Denver Mint with a D mint mark; and the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark. The 1935 D penny was struck in Denver and bears a tiny D beneath the date on the obverse. Approximately 47 million of these coins were struck, which was significantly fewer than Philadelphia's 245 million but more than San Francisco's output, placing the Denver issue in the middle in terms of relative scarcity among the three. Physically, the 1935D wheat penny follows the classic Lincoln wheat design, 95% copper and 5% tin zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams with a plain edge and a 19.05 diameter. The obverse shows Lincoln's right-facing bust with "In God We Trust," Liberty, the year, and the Denver Mint mark. The reverse displays the words 1 cent surrounded by 2 stylized wheat stalks and United States of America, hence the nickname wheat penny. Although 1935D pennies were everyday currency at the time, used to buy candy, newspapers, and other small items, they are now widely collected and valued by numismatists, both for their historical context and for the nuances that condition and rarity bring to their worth. In typical circulated condition, these coins are fairly affordable and often trade for a modest premium over face value, but in uncirculated condition with strong original color, especially red luster, they can command significantly higher prices among collectors. Example auction records include high-grade 1935D pennies achieving values in the thousands when exceptionally preserved and graded by specialist services. Beyond standard strikes, certain error and variety specimens, such as those with repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or double die features, also draw special interest and can carry premium values. These anomalies provide insight into the production challenges of early 20th century coinage and make the 1935D wheat penny not just a relic of Depression-era commerce, but a compelling piece of American numismatic history as well. Next time, the 1936 Lincoln wheat penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. This series marked a significant departure in U.S. coinage history. It was the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, Lincoln's, instead of symbolic figures like Liberty. The design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB appeared on early issues and were later reduced in size after public controversy, eventually reappearing in a subtler form on later coins, including those from 1936. On the obverse front of the coin, Lincoln's right-facing profile is featured with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" along the top curve, "Liberty" to his left, and the date 1936 to his right, with a small D mint mark just below indicating it was produced at the Denver Mint. On the reverse back, the classic wheat ears design frames the words 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLURIBUSUNUM above a Latin motto meaning "out of many, one." This reverse design remained unchanged until 1958. The 1936D designation means the coin was struck in Denver. In that year, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. Of the 3, the Denver Mint minted 40,620,000 of these cents, making the 1936D less common than the Philadelphia issue, over 309 million, but more common than the San Francisco output, about 29 million. The coin's composition reflects typical pre-1982 pennies, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it a distinctive reddish-brown appearance and a weight of about 3.11 grams with a 19.05 diameter. This bronze alloy was chosen for durability and aesthetic appeal in everyday circulation. The historical context of the 1930s also influenced this coin's place in American numismatics. Struck in the midst of the Great Depression, the 1936 Lincoln cents were used daily in commerce at a time of economic hardship and recovery. While hundreds of millions were produced and circulated widely, most were spent, worn, and eventually saved only by collectors or found in old coin rolls, which is why high-grade specimens today are collectible. From a collector's perspective, the 1936D wheat penny isn't considered extremely rare in lower grades, but it does have numismatic interest for several reasons. Mint mark variety: the D identifies it as a Denver strike, which has a lower mintage than Philadelphia, making it slightly more desirable to collection completers. Condition rarity: most surviving coins were well circulated. A bright, uncirculated 1936D in mint state MS grades, particularly with original red RD color, is far scarcer and can command significantly higher prices. Some top specimens graded at MS68 RD have sold for prices like around $15,600 at major auctions. Design stability: being part of a series that retained consistent design for decades, the 1936 issues help collectors trace the subtle design and production differences across years and mints. Because of these factors, the 1936D wheat cent remains both a historical artifact of U.S. coinage and a collectible piece for those completing Lincoln cent sets, especially in higher grades with strong strike and original coloration. Next time, the 1938 wheat penny with no mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, is a fascinating piece of American coinage history and a classic example of the beloved Lincoln wheat cent series, which circulated from 1909 to 1958. This coin wasn't just a small copper cent. It represented a time when the United States was still emerging from the hardships of the Great Depression and approaching the tumult of World War II, reflecting everyday economic life and the era's craftsmanship. The 1938 Lincoln wheat penny was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose iconic portrayal of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse had first appeared in 1909 to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday, making it the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait. The reverse shows two stylized ears of wheat encircling the denomination and country name, giving the series its familiar wheat penny nickname. Its composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc gives it that distinctive reddish-brown look that many collectors prize today. In 1938, the Philadelphia Mint produced the no-mint mark issue in large numbers, over 150 million pieces, making it far more common than its Denver D and San Francisco S siblings. Because Philadelphia coins didn't carry mint marks at the time, any 1938 penny without a letter under the date is almost certainly Philadelphia minted. While ordinary circulated examples are plentiful and often worth only slightly above face value to casual collectors, the story of the 1938 no-mint mark penny doesn't end there. Its value and allure come from condition and survival, not rarity of date. A crisp, well-preserved specimen with intact original color, especially the original red copper luster, is much more desirable among numismatists. In circulated grades, these coins are commonly valued in the cents to low dollars range, but in high mint state grades like MS65 and above, they become much rarer and command significantly stronger prices. Exceptional examples have even fetched thousands of dollars at auction, illustrating how a humble 1-cent coin can become a valuable collectible when its preservation is extraordinary. Beyond regular issues, the 1938 Lincoln wheat penny also includes interesting edge cases and varieties, such as proof strikes and minting errors, that can dramatically increase value if authenticated. However, the standard no-mint mark business strike remains the iconic representative of everyday American currency from that era. A small copper coin that tells a big story of U.S. history, design, and the passion of coin collectors worldwide. Next time. The coin you're referring to, often called a silver penny, isn't actually made of silver. It's a 1943 Lincoln wheat penny struck at the Denver Mint, that's what the D mint mark means, and it was produced during one of the most unusual years in U.S. coinage history. Bullion exchanges +1. Globe showing Europe, Africa why it was made of steel. In 1943, the United States was fully engaged in World War II. Copper, the metal traditionally used for pennies since 1864, was urgently needed for military equipment such as shell casings and other crucial supplies. To conserve copper for the war effort, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic decision. Instead of the usual bronze, about 95% copper, the cent was struck on zinc-coated steel planchets. This composition change was temporary and only used in 1943. Bullion exchanges +1. Because steel has a silvery appearance, especially when new, many people unfamiliar with numismatics call these coins silver pennies, even though no real silver was used. Coin identifier. Steel pennies from this year are the only regular-issue U.S. cents ever made with this metal composition. Wikipedia. Scroll what the coin looks like. Every 1943 Lincoln wheat penny, including those from Denver, D, features the classic design by Victor David Brenner. Obverse front, Abraham Lincoln's profile with "In God We Trust," the date 1943, and the D mint mark below the date. Reverse back, two wheat stalks framing the denomination 1 cent and United States of America. Coin identifier. Unlike copper pennies, these steel cents have a light gray silvery appearance and are magnetic because of the steel core. SD bullion. Why some have black or dark areas, black shade. The term black shade you mentioned doesn't indicate a special mint variety or silver composition. It's usually the result of surface oxidation and environmental effects over decades. Steel pennies are prone to corrosion once the thin zinc coating wears off, and that can produce dark gray or black tunning or spotting. Bullion exchanges. Important points. These dark patches are typically not mint-related, i.e., they are post-mint environmental alterations rather than intentional production differences. Bullion exchanges. Collectors generally value original surfaces. Heavy corrosion often reduces a coin's collectible value. Chart increasing mintage and normal value. The 1943 D steel penny was not rare in circulation. It was one of hundreds of millions minted. Denver D coin struck. These coins are fairly common today, though intact examples in high grade can be worth more than face value. USA Coin Book. Typical values for regular steel cents span from a few cents in worn condition to a few dollars in very nice condition. Firecracker rare error variants and million-dollar pennies. Here, where the 1943 penny gets legendary in numismatics. Copper error coins. Despite the steel change, a very small number of 1943 cents were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets, coins that should have been steel but were instead made of the traditional bronze alloy. These are extremely rare and highly valuable because only a handful estimates around total across all mints are known to exist. These copper errors are true rare coins and have sold at auction for hundreds of thousands, even over $800,000 or more for 1943 copper cents. The Sun +1. The Denver copper error 1943 D bronze is among the rarest of all. A few have surfaced over decades, becoming some of the most prized U.S. error coins ever sold. Wikipedia. Pushpin important distinction. A normal 1943 D steel penny with dark tunning, black spots shade, is not rare or silver, it's just the standard steel version showing age. Bullion exchanges. A copper 1943 D penny, however, would be an error coin and extremely valuable. How to tell genuine rarity from common circulation. If you think you have a rare off-metal copper error, check the weight and magnetic response. Standard steel pennies will be magnetic and weigh about 2.7 grams. Copper error pennies won't stick to a magnet and weigh about 3.11 grams, the standard weight for a bronze planchet. Coin identifier. For true authentication and valuation, coins should be examined by professional graders like PCGS or NGC. Pushpin 1943 D silver wheat penny. Made of steel with zinc coating, not silver. Produced due to WWII copper shortages. Denver Mint struck over 200 million steel pennies that year. Dark or black shade tunning is usually post-mint corrosion. Only rare copper error pennies, wrong planchet, are extremely valuable. Thank you for taking the time to read this complete history of the 1943 D silver steel wheat penny. I hope this detailed information helped you understand the real story behind this famous World War II era coin, its unique steel composition, and the reason some examples appear in a black or dark shade today. If you enjoyed this history or found it useful, please support by liking, sharing, and following.